When I got home from my family vacation to Key West, I noticed that all of my journal entries, or at least most of them on the trip, were super fast and rushed. I pretty much did my journaling at the end of each day, and I just like scribbled stuff down really quickly before I went to bed because I was so tired. For this trip, I really wanted to make sure that I didn't have a repeat of my Key West journal entries because I really did not want my journaling to suffer like it did on that vacation. I wanted to make sure that I got the fullest journaling experience while traveling, which honestly helped elevate my experience as well. When you're actually on a vacation, it's really easy to neglect your journaling, especially if you do have a really busy itinerary, or if you're wanting to spend time with people, or even just get your mind off of things from like back home. And although there's nothing wrong with those things, I often find that I forget to ground myself in my day-to-day life when I'm not allotting the proper amount of time to journal, even if it's just for like 5-10 minutes to slow down and journal rather than speeding through an entry. And that's especially the case when I'm traveling. It just makes me feel like I'm not being fully present while I'm living, and I'm just living on for each next day rather than actually experiencing what's happening to me, or at the very least reflecting on everything going on. Journaling each day, especially on a vacation, allows me to just take a step back and appreciate what I'm doing and just take it in that much more. I feel like it's so easy to get swept up in new exciting experiences, whether it be an adrenaline filled one or a really nice relaxing one, and I just want to make sure that I document those memories, not just so that I can reflect back on those memories, but that I can fully absorb all of the new perspectives that I'm gaining while on the trip. Overall, journaling helps you keep in touch with yourself, which is honestly one of my favorite things about journaling, and I feel like it does a really good job at doing that, especially when it feels like life and time is just flying by. And trust me, it's not an easy thing to do. I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, just journal every day, it really helps you, it'll make you a better person, whatever. Although that part is true, it's not easy to do. When you're busy and you're tired, which let's be real, most of us are busy and tired, it is so easy to push off journaling and to be like, I don't really need it, it's not really gonna do much for me, I'd rather just go to sleep. But making sure to prioritize journaling makes you mentally stronger. It helps eliminate weakness in your brain, not only because of the discipline that it takes to do it, but also because it forces you to slow down and work through those high-speed things that are going on in your mind. And so many people tell me that one of the biggest reasons they don't like journaling and that they want to type instead or just not do it at all is because it's too slow for them. And I feel like when you really sit back to declutter your mind and write things down, or to work it out and talk through things, it really helps you become mentally stronger, emotionally stronger, spiritually stronger, all of those things in taking care of your mental health. And speaking of things that help keep you grounded, help declutter your mind, and just overall strengthen your mental health, therapy is another great tool to utilize, which leads me into the sponsor of today's video, BetterHelp. It's the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online, and I truly believe that therapy is another way to really strengthen your mental health. It can help ground you and work through those things on your mind, good or bad. And with BetterHelp, you have access to over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists that can help you with a wide variety of issues. And what's really nice is that the therapist can be tailored exactly for your needs, because when you first get started, you can answer some questions about what you're looking for in a therapist and your preferences. Then obviously you talk to the therapist, but you can do it in a bunch of different ways. You can text them, you can call them, you can video chat, whatever you feel comfortable with, so it's not as time consuming as going into a location for an in-person therapy session. You can message your therapist at any time, even while you're traveling, and schedule live sessions whenever it's convenient for you. And then if your therapist doesn't feel right for you, you're able to switch therapists at any time at no additional charge, which is really nice because sometimes it can take a couple tries to find a therapist that really fits your vibe. You get the same professionalism and quality of an in-person therapy session, but with a lot more scheduling flexibility and a much more affordable price. So if you're interested, you can get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/CarrieWalker, and I'll also have that link below in the description. Thank you again to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's video. Interrupt this segment by bringing a Winston. Winston has gotten so big. Oh, whoa, buddy. He's here to join the video. Oh, maybe not. Oh, just kidding. On my trip, we had a very, very thorough itinerary. I was exhausted from the busy schedule, the time change because it was an international trip, and just the large input of knowledge that I was gaining. And it was all so incredible, but it was really tiring. So that made it even easier to use my tiredness as an excuse to not want to journal and just push it off. So one of my biggest tips for that is to journal throughout the day. I mentioned that while I was in Key West, I often left my journaling to the end of the day, and honestly, that's what I do a lot of the times with my journaling, just because it tends to be more convenient for me, but it's always been a habit I've wanted to break, and especially while traveling, I feel like it can be really helpful to journal throughout the day, because when you're doing a whole lot of things and you're just getting more and more tired throughout the day, by the time you sit down to journal, you just want to go to sleep, and you're not going to prioritize journaling as much as you would have if you had a little bit more energy. So this means to really utilize your downtime that you have throughout the day, even if it's like for 5 or 10 minutes, just step aside and journal real quick. It doesn't need to be a one-time journaling session. It can be throughout the day in little chunks. I always journal at least a page a day, so if I'm journaling throughout the day, even if I get only half a page done throughout the day, that means by the end of the day, if I still have to finish my journal entry, I've at least gotten it started, so then I'm less likely to like rush through it because I feel like I only have a little bit left rather than an entire page to do. You can journal while you're at the airport, or you can journal in the car as long as you're not the one driving. If you're taking any public transportation, a plane, a bus, a train, whatever, you can journal there, or you can take your journal with you and write a little bit while you're eating lunch. If you're so busy throughout the day that you don't have any downtime at all, or if you're doing things that like wouldn't make sense to bring your journal to, you can try waking up early and finding a spot that is just for you to do your little journaling in, that you can knock it out for the day and write about like the day before maybe, or at least like your thoughts on like where you're at or what you're looking forward to for the day, even if it's just for like 10 minutes in the morning, because I know sometimes you really don't want to get up early. I love finding quiet spots to reflect in, especially when on vacation. Something about finding a new space to write in, especially while you're alone, can just really elevate your journaling experience. I feel like it can just change like the tone in which you're writing, and I think it's really beautiful. Also, if you're able to, I really encourage you to journal in like a fun location. If you go to the beach, journal while you're at the beach, while you're physically there at the beach. Or if you're going on a hike, maybe find a good stopping point and just journal a little bit while you're there, making those memories and experiencing those new environments. It doesn't need to take away from those times that you're having, but I feel like journaling when you're physically experiencing things is so different than when you're writing back on something that's already happened. It may not always make sense to do this depending on where you're traveling to or what you're doing, but if you're able to, I definitely recommend trying it out. I also wanted to remind you to take the pressure off of having a perfect journal entry, especially while traveling. The goal is to document thoughts and memories, not to be perfect. I feel like it's so easy to want to have like a very perfect, aesthetic, beautiful travel journal, especially because that's like a lot of what we see online. Who doesn't want a really like nicely put together travel journal? But honestly, that can overwhelm me a lot when I am going and writing about those experiences, because I'm focused more on making it aesthetically pleasing, having like this perfect thought-provoking journal entry instead of just being in the moment and writing what's on my mind. Especially because when you're traveling, you don't always have as much time to format things really nicely or add a lot of like aesthetic little things to it. And even if you do have that kind of time on your trip, you don't need to make it perfect. The documentation of your thoughts and memories don't need to be perfect. It just needs to be enough for you to reflect and maybe even recall those memories later on. Even if it's just little things. It's really whatever you want, but it doesn't need to be perfect. And although you don't need to create a detailed scrapbook in your journal, I do encourage you to tape things in, if it makes sense, of course. I love taping in things like plane tickets, postcards, or any other like flat mementos that can fit inside of a journal when you tape it down. There's something really special about having a physical piece of a memory taped in for you to look back on and feel in your journal entry. If you have pictures to tape in, even better. I don't have a Polaroid camera or printer or anything for me to use like while I'm on a vacation to print out pictures, so I usually don't have them. But when I do have access to a printer, I love printing out pictures of a trip or even just like things that I've done in my life to just update in my journal entry, because it's really nice having that visual aspect within your journaling as well. And then you can also add color to your journal. This can be done in so many different ways. You can draw pictures or sketches. You can write the location that you're at in a different like hand lettered font, or just like different on colors or something. Maybe you can like match the country's flag depending on where you go, or if it's like the beach, you can make it look beachy or something. You can also do the same with different activities you're doing or things that you see or places you visit. And if you're not that artsy fartsy, that is okay. You don't need to do any of these things, but you can still add color in other fun ways if you're interested. You can add like an outline or something to the pages that you're writing on your trip, or even just like star the pages or something, so that when you look back, it's really easy to identify which pages were from that trip or vacation. Because if you're like me, I have my travel journal entries in my same daily journal that I use throughout the year. So if you like outline the pages in a different color or star them or whatever, it can be really easy to just like see that section of that whole journal and see, oh, this was my trip to this place. You can highlight things, you can write things in different colors just to like section off different activities, experiences, days, literally whatever your heart desires. Traveling and seeing the world is such a fulfilling experience, and taking the time to document those things so that you can look back on it and reflect on those experiences can really strengthen the perspectives that you're gaining entertaining during these travels. And overall, I just feel like it truly does help you slow down and take care of your mental health during all seasons of life, but especially when you are on such an enriching journey. I could go on for a long time about it, but it is something that I'm new to because I don't travel that much. So if you have any other traveling tips, please comment them down below. I am always open to learning more. I think that staying open-minded and giving yourself a lot of grace and plenty of room to grow and learn can be really, really beneficial to journaling and just your life overall. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed. It really, really helps out my channel a ton. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye guys.